Yippee-ki-yay, melon farmer.
Welcome back, knife nerds, everyday care people, and you melon farmers. It's the Big Canucker here, and I have got myself something pretty damn special here right now. If you can perhaps tell by the box here, many of you sharp-eyed knife aficionados will be able to tell by this here, this horse head. Absolutely, yes, we are talking about a Hinderer, and we are talking about this bad boy right here. This happens to be the Hinderer XM-24 Bowie, and I gotta say, this thing is an absolute beast. If you're looking for a knife that will cut through Tyrannosaurus Rex steaks, this is the one that'll do it. This thing here is a monster, and it has become my hard use, heavy duty, everyday carry. Man, oh man, I like this knife a whole bunch. Of course, here we've got the box. Hinderers have the same box forever, and this happens to be the Triway. And the only thing I gotta say I hate about this box is I hate the packing peanuts inside. These are one of the worst inventions made ever. I hate them. I despise them with the intensity of 1,000 white hot suns. I hate them. But inside here, just a quick look. You've got your extra washers in here, and even though this does come with what's called the Triway pivot, which means you can use phosphor bronze, you could use nylon, or you can use bearings. It comes with all three. You can do that. That's the Triway pivot. This one happens to be riding on skiff bearings, which is a, it makes it, I think, that much smoother. It is an extremely smooth knife. But I just want to give you an idea of what kind of size this is. Here we have a knife that is a big monster in its own right. We have the Cold Steel AD10. As you can see here, it makes the AD10 look like it's a just a little, I don't want to say girly knife, because then with my 0.3% girl viewers, they'll get mad at me, but oh well, damn it. And then we've got another one here. We've got the Shaman. These are two big work knives. This is a bigger work knife, and but there is a Spyderco that I have that will give you an idea that is, I think, will match it in size. Spyderco K2, as you can see here, the K2's even got a little bit more beefitude than the Hinderer XM-24 until you turn it sideways, and then the Hinderer makes this one look like a little bit of a butter knife. But that's our size comparisons. We'll go over the total sides here. Now, the blade length here is 4 inches. Total length is 9.15 inches. Your handle is 5.4 inches. Now, the blade thickness, they say, is 0.185, and I think in millimeters, I think that's like, I don't know exactly what that is in millimeters. All I know is it's damn thick, and this is a stout blade. You can see how even the thickness here, this is kind of more of a little bit of a false kind of swedge there cut. And you can see how it looks like it widens out, but in truth, the actual blade stays the same thickness all the way out until the very end, and then it kind of narrows quite a bit. So you do have quite a bit of tip strength on this knife, even though you're not going to pry, right? Because knives aren't pries, you need a pry bar. Knives aren't prying tools, you need a pry bar. Some of us do cheat a little bit and pry the odd thing if you're going to, and this one here is not gonna, snap too darn easily. If you pry with this and you snap it, you are a dill hole, and you shouldn't have a knife at all. All right, so the overall thickness here we've got here, now they do it a little bit different. They got lock side thickness as 0.185, so it looks like the same size as this piece of titanium. Is the same size as the blade, and then it says here that your liner lock thickness is 0.005. I'm not exactly sure what that means. It just basically means that this thing is damn thick. It's quite a bit thicker than even the Shaman, as well as now the AD10. Let's see. The AD10 is about the same thickness. That's the one thing about the AD10 is it's quite a thick boy. Now, the overall weight is 6.7 ounces. The blade steel is CPM 20CV, which is, that steel is one of the top super steels that they're running right now. Of course, it is made in the USA. That's one of the things that a lot of people really like about these brand of knives is they're made in the USA. There's no Chinese components. Now, as far as I know, Rick Hinderer creates everything in-house. his screws, his pivot, his blades, the G10. I guess it's all machined in-house with Rick Hinderer. Now, when you have a look here, you can see that it is a Reeves integral lock or a frame lock, and it's really quite a huge thick piece of titanium. It does have the lock bar face there where it's got the metal or steel on steel, so you don't have any of that lock stick. Now, the one thing here that a real big thing that Hinderer's claim to fame is the fact that it's got the over travel stop right here, and that can come in many different colors too as well. And then you can see that it will prevent you from over opening that knife and bending this. Now, the one thing I do have to say about this knife here, and it rockets out fantastic for being such a big, heavy, weighty blade. The jimping on it can at times be a tiny bit much. I guess you want to have jimping to have grip, and I know if you've got a good heavy piece of a good heavy glove on, this knife can be used no problem, and the jimping will lock a hold. There's no issues there. But if you've got like hands like mine that, although they aren't feel like quality because I've been doing some work in the garden, well, normally it can get a little bit too much if you're just going barehanded and you're really kind of bearing into this jimping. It is a little bit much there. Now, the one thing I got to say about a Hinderer knives, all the ones that I've handled, I got to say, when I pick up a Hinderer and I say, okay, well, this knife here is, I'm going to say somewhere around $680 US right now. I didn't pay anywhere near this because this one happens to be pre-owned, even though it's in excellent shape. I have to say that Rick Hinderer knives, when I pick up a Rick Hinderer knives, so far, every single one, XM-18, the Eclipse, this one, every time I pick those knives up, I realize, oh my goodness, this is a well-built, solid knife using tremendous materials. Now, I've picked up $500 knives, and I felt it, and it doesn't feel any more special than a $100 knife. I don't feel that with Rick Hinderer knives. Every time I pick up a Rick Hinderer knife, I know that I'm picking up something that I can pretty much bet my life on, that it's not going to fail. If I'm stuck on a desert island and I've got one knife, hey, I think this XM-24 might be it. Sans, if you're out in the Pacific in salt water and stuff, you probably want, something like Magna Cut on there just so you don't get. But overall build material with this thing, even though the CPM20CV is stain resistant, I would want one of these knives. They are absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best quality knives that I have ever felt in my entire life. Of course, it has the lanyard hole, which I totally love. Now, the only thing that I would say is kind of a little bit of a knock on a Hinderer knife is the fact that you've got a straight blade right here, a straight screw. You've got some Torx right here, which I do believe are T8s. You've got some tiny little Phillips here. You've got another T6, I do believe. Two more Phillips. And then you've got a proprietary lock here, or a proprietary screw here, which you have to have now. Sometimes you can take a penny and just file a little bit away and use that. Even the way that this is sticking out above the pin, you could probably still use a flat blade on that right now. I just think that I wish they would do a little bit more standard. You know what? I could see them doing just Torx all the way through, even putting a bigger Torx in there, but even putting some Torx in here. Just, I don't know, just make them all the same, I wish. That's the only thing I'm a little bit weirded out about. Now, the one thing here about Hinderers, they do come in left hands. This one here is right hand. It is right hand. You can go tip up or tip down. Now, the other thing that's cool about these is you can customize these like crazy. So like we said, the pivot can ride on skiffs. It can ride on, bearings. It can ride on nylon. It can ride on phosphor bronze, depending upon your work environment. If you're in a environment where it's really, really, like it's really, really sandy and there's lots of grit around, you may not want to have the bearings in there because it'll get inside there and maybe come up. So you want to go with the phosphor bronze. If you're going to go with some place like it's a long, long time before you're going to be able to do any sort of maintenance on this, then you look at perhaps having the nylons in there, because nylon is a little bit self-lubricating, that stuff. So if you had to go a whole year without being able to crack open your knife, maybe the nylons makes a little bit more sense that way. I really like that idea of having a choice in it. It makes it a really true hard use knife for almost any environment. Now there is a couple of things here, other things here that is not super desirable. Because it is such a thick blade, it is very, very thick behind the edge. This knife came, I'm going to guess this probably came with probably about a 25-degree edge on it. It was a really stout edge. It wasn't that sharp. The previous owner told me that he never cut anything with it, so I'm assuming that it was the factory edge, and it was not fantastic. It was sharp, it was usable, but it was not as sharp as I've seen previous Hinderers. So I ended up putting a 20-degree edge on here, and it is fantastic. It cuts like rope and stuff like that, like nobody's, like a hot dam. But when you're going in through some really, really heavy cardboard and it is a little bit thick here through the whole knife, but I mean you can still cut it through it. It just takes a little bit of effort because you are pushing a really thick 185.185 of an inch knife through some cardboard. So that's the other little bit of a knock I had on it. Now you can see that you've got it does rock it out like nobody's business. Hinderer has got the D10 absolutely dialed in, and there's no worries whatsoever. And being so smooth, like it is, shake shut smooth. With a big heavy 4-inch blade like this, maybe you don't want to have that guillotine shut because you know what, it'll chop off your finger. Believe me, I've been bitten by a few knives. I like to have that. It's and to coin a phrase from some Chris Reeves knives, it is very, very hydraulic feeling. So you're not going to have to worry about a drop shut on your finger. I had a McNeese that was great little knife. It was just, no matter how much I tightened it, it was like guillotine sharp. It was just drop, 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 drop. And I just wished it had a little bit more resistance on it. I was going to actually take it apart and put some really super thick oil in there to maybe slow it down a little bit. This one here, I haven't pulled it apart yet. It's hardly been used. They call this Battle Bronze. I love Rick Hinderer's names, Battle Black, Battle Bronze. The working finish, to me, it's just an absolutely gorgeous knife. I love the look of this Bowie, and it in hand, the ergonomics I think are absolutely excellent. I love this knife, and it is now my new heavy-duty EDC knife. I'm taking this sucker camping. I guess one of the other things I did notice is if I don't have my belt tight, it gives me a little bit of saggy pants because it is kind of heavy at 6.7 ounces. It is a little bit up there, but I mean, what 4-inch knife isn't going to be, pretty darn bulky. This one here, like I said, I've got double XL hands, and you can see that when I've got this thing completely clenched up, it's still got room on each side. So if I had to do like a pommel strike, something like that, I'm there. It's got this really nice guard. Now, it's got this great big choil here. So if you do have to choke up on this blade and do some fine work, you can. I love that. But you just have to be careful, because if you catch the end of it with your finger, you're going to be giving yourself a little bit of a cut. So it does have that ability to do that little bit of a choil. And then you can do some fine work with it. It's one-handed all the way around. I really, really impressed with this knife. I love this knife. And you know what? I'm going to probably give this knife, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Despite having a couple of little tiny issues, with the jimping being so tight and stuff like that, or being so sharp, I'm going to still give it a 9 out of 10. I love this knife. And if you have the opportunity and you're lucky enough to be able to grab one of these ones, I would say do it. A lot of people here online are, one of the things they're saying is they like the XM-18 better, which I personally didn't. I like the XM-24 here better than the XM-18. even though it is bigger, even though it is 6.7 ounces, I'll carry that little extra bit in order to use it. Now, the really one thing is, I just like this landing pad. When you flick your knife, you're landing on this rather than this jimping. And on the XM-18, I constantly landed on that jimping, and it bugged my finger, irritated the hell out of my finger. I didn't like that, and for some reason, this one just seems to be that much more flipperific for me. So, if you like what you saw, please don't forget to give me the old thumbs up, as well as like, share, and spread this video. I appreciate it so much. If you think I've earned it, please take care. Please stay safe. Take care. Keep your stick on the ice. The shining side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.